Today when I woke up, I was quite tired. I can't even tell you. I didn't even know where I was when I first woke up. And then I came downstairs, and by the time I set up to do breakfast, that's when I finally woke up. I was literally groggy before that, and I was like, oh no. Oh no, I hope I can do breakfast. And I forced myself. I'm like, oh good, I can do breakfast. Well, y'all, it's that time of morning when I go back down for a nappy nap. Oh, I gotta text Johnny and tell him to call me at 9 or 9:30 to wake me up, so I actually get up so that I'm ready to go on time. Otherwise, with Prozac, I'll just sleep in until like 10, 11. So I gotta be careful with that, so he's gotta wake me up. Anyway, I'm gonna go lay down now and have my nappy nap. I'll see y'all later. Then I had to get ready to go because we had to get to town so that we could go shopping. Little did I know that we were going to have a long day. Like, it felt like
5 hours.
it felt like 10 hours to me. The first 2 hours, it felt like 10 hours because we had to go back and forth so many times. Because, okay, so when we first got there, I had to wait for Johnny. Johnny was walking to the mall. And then from the mall, we walked to Walmart. I got my hair stuff, which wasn't at Walmart, so we had to walk to Great Clips. Then from Great Clips, we walked to Tim Hortons. We had lunch. Then from Tim Hortons, because Lucas spilt hot chocolate all over himself, soaked himself, and it's like 3 degrees outside. So he was going to get cold and get sick. So we went walking back to Walmart to get him brand new clothes so that he wasn't cold and wet. So we walked back to Walmart, got him some clothes, changed him in the bathroom. Then we walked to Mark's work warehouse to get Johnny's shoes, which they didn't have, so he has to now order them online and get them shipped to Mark's work warehouse. And then, so then we walked all the way back to Superstore. And then we walked through Superstore getting everything from my list, which took us 2 hours more. So literally, like, we're walking around for 2 hours at Superstore getting groceries and things. And then we called the cab and we got here. And then we had to unload everything from the cab. Johnny had to go do his thing, so I literally put away all the groceries. I put them all away, y'all. I cleaned, tidied up, put it all away. And I can tell you right now, after all that walking, after all of that, and being up at 4:45 in the morning making breakfast and lunch, I am dead tired, y'all. Like, I just can't wait to go to bed. Oh, Lord Jesus, I just want to go to sleep right now. And so they still have to brush their teeth. I still have to brush my teeth, still have to wash my face, and then I can finally go to bed. And I'm telling you right now, I swear, as soon as I hit my nice cold pillow, I'm gonna fall asleep. I'm gonna be out like a baby. And I'm gonna sleep dead tonight. Just dead. Johnny's gonna have to check on me when he wakes up. Make sure I'm still alive. That's how stiff I'm gonna be, just dead. Limp. Gonna be so tired. Oh, I'm already so tired. Oh, and I still have to upload this after it converts, so there's that. And I have to wait for that, and it takes like 20 to 30 minutes for this thing to convert. And then it takes another 20 or 30 minutes for the stupid thing to upload. But I'm probably going to be sleeping by the time it does that. And then I'll wake up to go to the bathroom, and I'll turn off the frickin' screen light. That's what I'm going to do. That's how it's going to go down. I need my cord. My phone is dying. It's dying. I need the black block. Black block. Black block. Black block. Black block. Are you charging? Yes, good. All right. I forgot that this has no sound too, so I have to film it. Yeah. Anyway, we were on the bus, and it was a very beautiful day, considering. Like a very beautiful day. So I enjoyed today. It was very sunny. It was very warm until it got cold.
Is she still doing the photography? Not that much. No?
While we were at Tim Hortons, Lucas spilt hot chocolate all over him. So we had to go to Walmart and get him some new clothes and switch him in the bathroom so he didn't freeze, because it's really cold today. Well, not for me, because I sweat a lot, but for them, they're tiny. So yeah, we had to get him new clothes. He looks snappy. Look, there's his new clothes. Look at it. Very nice, Lucas. Very nice. Now we're off to Mark's work warehouse to get my baby some waterproof shoes. Then we're walking to Superstore, shopping and taking a cab home. Finally. I feel like I've been out all day already.
Food is very important.
We've been out it feels like we've been out all day already. But it's almost 3 o'clock. But yeah, it's pretty windy today. And yeah, I'll film when I get to Superstore. We're in Mark's work warehouse now. Sorry about my hair, it's a windy day. And it is washed, so it does poof like this sometimes when it's washed. I'm planning on dyeing it again soon so it's not so white. Don't worry. Just not yet.
Wait, how old are you going to be when you want it to be white?
40?
What? You're almost 40.
Yeah, I know. I have 2 years, so
Wait, what?
I'll dye my hair for the next 2 years and then stop at 40.
You're going to stop at the birthday?
I'm stopping when I turn 40.
On my next birthday.
I think that's acceptable, right? Yeah.
Can my next birthday be about only Geometry Dash?
I don't even know if that's a thing.
Yes, everyone playing it and talking about it.
Lord have mercy on
please,
me.
like, everyone talking and playing.
Everyone talking and playing about Minecraft.
Anyway,
But I don't have to play it.
go ask for someone.
No, I just have to talk about it.
I'll be back when we get to Superstore. So we're done at Superstore now. I'm going to show you. This is what 2.5 weeks of food looks like. Holy moly. I used the Flip app, you guys, okay? The Flip app. And I saved us. Can you guess? I saved us $690 using the Flip app. And I got back $45. I told y'all. And I also got these stamp things for this. And apparently, I can purchase this pot set thing for 75% off. Which means, I don't know how much it is, but if it's like $50, then 75% of that, I'm probably only paying $15. I might do that next month. I have until February 20th, so. Hallelujah. I told you, God is good. Use the Flip app. It's really, really good, and it saves you lots of money. And you can get a bunch of groceries, and it's not even that much. I remember I said that this was going to be like a $600 run. It was $700 because we got 4 items that weren't on the list. And extra items of one of the stuff that was on the list. So, yeah. I mean, I got all my medicines, Pepsid AC, everything. And it still was only $700. That's crazy. I'm very tired. That's why my eyes are red. Don't worry. I'm just tired.
I'm dying.
We're all dying. We walked back and forth all day. We walked down to Walmart. Then we came up to Tim Hortons, walked back to Walmart, then up to Mark's Work Warehouse, then all the way up here, all around here for the last 2 hours, and now we're gonna take a cab home. Yeah, it's been a day.
I finally get to beat Aku.
Yeah, you guys can have ramen or something quick.
Yeah, I'm gonna beat the easiest extreme demon.
It's gonna be one of those kinds of nights.
Mommy, say,
As soon as I rest, I need to rest for a little bit.
Say good luck for me to beat Aku.
You let me rest after I put away all the food because my back hurts, and then I will play. Don't worry.
Mommy, say good luck for me beating Aku.
I promised him. Then we'll do the chapter, guys. Don't worry.
Mommy, say good luck for me to beat Aku. It's extreme demon.
Good luck. All right, guys. This is our new chapter, and I know it's quite late coming, but I had a very long day, y'all. Okay, very long day. So please bear with me. The nature of man and woman. Man was created to subdue. Woman was created to assist. This whole chapter is exactly what we've been talking about. I read over it earlier today, and tomorrow I'll highlight the stuff that I really liked. However, tonight I'm just going to read through it, and we're going to discuss this more tomorrow because I have no time tonight. I'm doing the chapter, then I'm going to bed, okay? So, God made them that way. God created man with a nature that is aggressive, and then commanded him to exercise dominion over the earth, Genesis 1:28. He created the male sex with an extra dose of testosterone, which provokes him to want to work hard, conquer everything in his path, and subdue all things. That is why the male sex is at the forefront of military conquests, exploration, architecture, science, and inventions. No woman would ever go out and tame a wild horse and make a rope out of its mane and tail, and then go out and find a bear and lasso it just to prove that she could, laughing the whole time. If women were the inventors, they would make minivans. Men make 4-wheel drive vehicles and then modify them so they will stand higher and drive faster. They will even put a winch on the front so they can traverse places meant only for alligators or mountain goats. Men fly to the moon, climb treacherous mountains, fight wild animals, challenge each other at any sport, and laugh with loud, hilarious delight the whole time. They like to play or watch games where they knock each other down, just to prove who is the strongest and toughest. Everything they do must end with a testosterone-driven climax, and they think we ladies are hard to understand. A woman can do about anything a man can do, but it is always the man who invented and then eventually invite the ladies along just to make it more interesting. Testosterone again. A few ladies will always step out and play the men's games, trying to prove a gender point. The men don't need a point. A few ladies will always step out and play the men's games, trying to prove a gender point. The men don't need a point to prove. They just need to vent. Men are different. We must face it. Thankfully, men and women were not created alike. Men were created with traits that I do not want as part of me. But when I married, it was, of course, to one of those strange male creatures with those traits. When we ladies discover traits in a man like sensitivity, spirituality, and understanding, we are thrilled because they contrast so starkly with the many coarser and visible traits that so strongly drive his nature. After all, having a nature to subdue all things, he likes best a woman who will give him a token struggle and then surrender to his wit, charm, and strength. He must thoroughly conquer. It is a battle I always enjoy losing. I like to be conquered and consumed by my man. That is my created nature. And I can attest that I actually like doing that too. And Johnny is a testament to that I like to struggle. Especially when we have a disagreement. I struggle and then he conquers me. Hugs me and kisses me and tells me to calm down, woman. And it's just a lovely interaction between both of us. Right, baby? All right. The woman was deceived. When Adam was created and placed in the garden, Lucifer, the fallen cherub, was jealous of Adam's position as master of the renewed planet. Lucifer, having become the devil, had previously made himself the enemy of God and his program. He did not want God to be successful at replenishing the earth. From the very beginning, it was the devil's dark heart to lure Adam into disobeying his creator. Satan would make Adam into the same rebel that he himself had been for such a long time. But Satan did not approach Adam. He waited and watched. When God finished with Adam, he gave him the job of naming all the animals. He commanded the first man not to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and he told him to subdue the earth and have dominion over the animal kingdom. His principal job was to dress and keep the garden, Genesis 2:15. So even before Eve was created, Adam was a full-grown man, firmly rooted in his relationship with God and fully engaged. So even before Eve was created, Adam was a full-grown man, firmly rooted in his relationship with God and fully engaged in his life's work. Adam was alone as he attended to his vocation and obeyed the command of his Creator. In going about the task of fulfilling his duties, he became aware of a need that he could not define. Even though he observed it in the male and female behavior of animals, he was lonely. He had no one with whom to share his achievements and conquests. God, in watching Adam, said, "It is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him a helpmeet for him." Genesis 2:18. God put Adam to sleep and took a rib from his side to make of it a woman, to be his helper, and to meet his needs. Satan could have tempted this lonely man at any time, for he had no knowledge of good and evil. But Satan waited for the creation of the weaker vessel, For Adam was first formed, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression. 1 Timothy 2:13 through 14. Satan knew that the man could not be deceived, but the woman could. So when she drew near to the tree, he convinced her that life would be better if she sought the higher state of being like the gods, gaining spiritual insight into the nature of good and evil. Eve was deceived in 3 ways. 1, she followed her flesh in desiring the tree for its food properties, 2, she succumbed to its beauty, desiring it for its pleasant appearance. She did not follow logic, she followed her sensibilities. 3, she wanted deeper spiritual insights than those provided by God. The source of Eve's failure was her unwillingness to believe God and her husband. She was meant to be Adam's helper, but she helped herself to spiritual knowledge and acted independently, becoming his downfall instead of his helpmeet. Why did Satan avoid Adam and approach Eve with his offer of greater spirituality? Lucifer is a male being. Isaiah 14:12 through 20. He understands the natural resistance of the male. He knows males say no just to prove they are in command. But Lucifer could see that this soft, sweet female was vulnerable. God made her by nature why isn't it showing up? Sorry. To be responsive, and she was trusting and naive. Being willing to rationalize, she could be deceived, having the best of intentions. In my mind, I picture the man being created heavily armored. His armor is helpful both spiritually and physically. God loaded him down with resistance, giving him a nature that is doubting, skeptical, forceful, and pushy. God knew that in order for man to survive and even prosper, he would need a natural armor that would drive him to keep pushing against the odds while enjoying the challenge. God knew that Satan was a liar and the master of deceit, so he created man to question first and believe later. Man's objectivity and lack of intuitiveness make him appear less spiritual than the sensitive, believing female. As a general rule, man is ruled more by his mind than the female, who is governed more by her sensibilities. Picture God as deliberately creating the woman without this armor, because he intended for her to stand behind her husband's armor. He was to be her covering, her shield, and her protector. Satan was able to deceive her when she left Adam's side and confronted the devil's logic alone. What? Oh, wait, what? He left. Okay. I got lost. Sorry, guys. She didn't have the armor to ward off his fiery darts of deceit. God designed the woman to be sensitive and vulnerable for the sake of the little ones whom she must nurture. The soul of a mother had to be vulnerable, the outer shell thin. She must be quick to feel, to hurt, to love, to have compassion, to take in the broken, and to believe the best. Vulnerability is a woman's greatest natural asset and the point of her greatest weakness. A woman can become tough and hard, skeptical and cautious in relationships, just like a man. She can become guarded and cynical, but in so doing, she is no longer feminine, no longer attractive to a man, and she will even begin to not like herself. Unprotected by the covering of her husband, she will grow miserable, fighting her own battles and trying to survive on an equal footing with men. Just look at the faces and mannerisms of outspoken Just look at the faces and mannerisms of outspoken feminists and lesbians. In their attempt to shed their vulnerability and express their independence, feminists begin to exhibit traits and behaviors completely outside of their created feminine nature. They lose their beauty and charm and become very poor excuses of men. Beautiful, deceived dreamers. Women in general give the appearance of being more spiritual than man. They like to dabble in soulish thoughts. There are many ways of expressing spirituality, but most of them have nothing to do with the Spirit of Jesus Christ. We ladies are more inclined to trust in our feelings and intuition than our men, which makes us more subject to deception. Just like Sister Eve, feelings and intuition are ever-changing. The Word of God is objective and dogmatic, unchanging. It is to religion what hard facts are to science. You rarely hear a man say, "God told me to do this," or "God led me to go down there." The few men I have known who talked that way did not demonstrate that they were any more led by the Spirit than other Christian men. I know that when God does speak to my husband and leads him in a supernatural way, he will not speak of it in public. He doesn't feel the need to promote himself in that manner. And furthermore, he believes that if he has truly heard from heaven, God doesn't need his publicity. God will vindicate himself. But many Christian women habitually attribute nearly every event to divine guidance. Experience proves that women are prone to claim God as their authority, when God had nothing to do at all with their leading. It is really quite appalling to see this shameful behavior still in action today, especially when God so graciously gave us the example of Miriam, Moses' sister. Her desire to be on an equal footing with Moses has left her name in infamy for our admonition, 1 Corinthians 10:6-10, and for our learning that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope, Romans 15:4. God seems to be gracious to us dimwits, and that is what we are when we lightly use God's name, a form of blasphemy, to give authority to our God seems to be gracious to us dimwits, and that is what we are when we lightly use God's name, a form of blasphemy, to give authority to our intuitive decisions. The bottom line is that women enjoy their own self-effusing spirituality. It is a feminine trait that few men share or understand. Men can, however, become totally absorbed in their own personal ambitions and in the process neglect their spiritual side altogether. Women often see this carnality in men and assume that women, being more spiritually minded, are closer to God, a completely false assumption. Nearly all spiritualists, past and present, are women. Women are the palm readers, crystal ball gazers, fortune tellers, and tarot card readers. Witches' covens are headed by women. Most mediums, those contacting the dead, are women, as was the witch of Endor, whom King Saul consulted concerning long-dead Samuel. When Jesus spoke a parable about the kingdom becoming corrupted with false doctrine, he illustrated it with a woman bringing in the corruption, Matthew 13:33. In the book of Revelations, it is a woman typically called Jezebel who deceives the church. We are told that she did it through her teaching. John wrote to the church of Thyatira and warned them against allowing the woman Jezebel to teach, Revelations 2:20. Women are either directly or indirectly responsible for most of the past and present cults in Christianity. The Bible makes a point of revealing the inherent nature of women when it gives a reason why women should not teach men. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression. 1 Timothy 2:14. That a man is less sensitive than a woman does not make him inferior to her, nor does her being more subject to deception than her husband make her inferior to him, just different natures. It is in recognizing that differences, in recognizing that difference, that wives should fear God and distrust their natural tendencies. Things that are not the same have different capacities and different offices. Adam knew. God had instructed Adam, and Adam had instructed Eve. Adam clearly understood that Satan's promise of spiritual enlightenment was a diabolical lie against God. The natural armor God had instructed Adam, and Adam had instructed Eve. Adam clearly understood that Satan's promise of spiritual enlightenment was a diabolical lie against God. The natural armor God had given Adam granted him enough understanding to doubt the devil and resist his lies. But Adam's armor had one small weak spot. He was not ruled by his feelings except where it concerned his woman. Adam's soul was exposed and vulnerable to the woman he loved. He wanted her happy, even if it meant disobeying God or going against his natural understanding of truth. He was willing to set aside reason for his woman. Eve's influence over Adam changed the course of history. We need to be aware of the power we have to seduce our husbands into following us, into disregarding the clear objective words of God. Adam, the first man, Samson, the strongest man, Solomon, the wisest man, and David, the man listed as being after God's own heart, were all brought down by women they loved. When a man loves a woman and wants to make her happy, he will often acquiesce in spiritual matters because of the affection he holds for her in his heart. Your husband may set aside reason and good judgment if you pressure him and let him feel your displeasure and unhappiness. In a man's heart, the place a woman holds will lead him into great strength or great weakness. Depending on the woman and the man, it is there that the men rise to great glory with their women, or they are dragged into shame and disgrace by them, or worse yet, are left unused by God. Remember the crazy lady who drove her family to financial ruin because she felt led of God to move and change her husband's business? Her husband knew it would not work, but he could not stand against her constant pleading and her spiritual intensity. He wanted desperately to be the man of God she wanted him to be, but in doing so, he gave up the glory of the man that God expected him to be. Then she badgered him into giving what little they had left as a tithe, in hopes that it would move God to bless their lack of effort with unearned wealth. What foolish rebellion, all in the name of spirituality. In the end, they lost everything, and she lost her mind. Men are still allowing women to take the spiritual lead, and women are confidently leading just as Eve did. They believe they are doing what is good for the family. It is not an act of carnal lust. It is a religious act driven by rebellion. Women are simply deceived. This is why God has so carefully taught us ladies to observe and maintain our roles as helpmeets. It is why we must implicitly trust God's judgment as to our duties, regardless of how we feel. God gave us a careful and stern warning as to what women would become in the last days. The prophetic picture of this woman is now in full array. It is the spiritual Jezebel, who is the exact opposite of a helpmeet. That is the death, I don't know if this is Nell or Kel, of the most noble institution on the earth, the family. As you read the next section about the prophetess Jezebel, learn to hate all that she is so you will not fall victim to her wicked practices of deceit. The Jezebel profile. When the name Jezebel is mentioned, most of us see the painted face of a seductively dressed woman gazing into the eyes of a man who lacks good sense. The Bible portrays Jezebel in a different light. Revelations 2:20 says that Jezebel calleth herself a prophetess, and men received her as a teacher, showing that she was part of the structured Christianity ministering to the saints. Jesus warned the church against the teaching woman Jezebel. Any woman who defies the scriptures' prohibition against women teachers in the church is following in the grave tradition of Jezebel. I went back to 1 Kings to see what the Bible had to say about the historical Jezebel. The first thing I noticed was that she was more spiritual and religiously devoted than her husband. She used her insights to guide him. He was a weak man, so she took the lead to motivate him. The Bible says in 1 Corinthians 11:3, "But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Christ is God." Regardless of our circumstances, when we women take the spiritual lead, we step out from under our designated rightful head. The second thing I observed was that Ahab was emotionally volatile, unstable. Is your husband prone to retreat? Is he bitter, angry, or depressed? When a woman takes the lead in marriage, her assuming of the masculine role makes a weak man weaker to the point of sending him to bed, as did Jezebel to Ahab. The third and most significant thing I noticed was that she used emotional stress to endear herself to him, a strange way of lording over her husband. If you read the story, you will see how Jezebel manipulated and accused an innocent man, then had him murdered so that Ahab could obtain his vineyard. Ahab is in depression, kept his face to the wall, and let her do her dark deeds. Today, if a woman is willing to play her husband's role in directing the family, her husband will lose his natural drive to bear responsibility. He will turn his face to the wall. The fourth thing that jumped out at me was how Ahab was easily manipulated by his wife to suit her purposes. She stirred his passive spirit, provoking him to react in anger. Jezebel used him to set up images and to kill God's true prophets. Often a man becomes involved in the local church, not because God has called him, but because he is trying to please his wife by at least looking spiritual. When a husband steps into a spiritual role at his wife's beckoning or emotional pressure, he is susceptible to her guidance in the role. Jezebel took steps to help promote her spiritual leaders. In the process, she provoked her husband to destroy those in spiritual authority whom she did not like. Have you influenced your husband to think evil of those in authority because you did not like something about them? Jezebel knew that she was not the rightful head, so she invoked her husband's name to give her word authority. Have you ever said, "Oh, my husband will not let me do that," when you knew he would not care? It is a way to maintain control and to stop those who would question you. When a woman steps outside her divinely ordained nature and assumes the dominant role, she will soon become emotionally and physically exhausted and dangerous. Now, I'm glad that she mentions Ruth and Esther because, as you know, the heretic mentioned both Ruth and Esther as spiritual leaders, and that is false, which you will see very clearly here. Ruth. In contrast, God reveals the ideal woman in positive stories about women who honored him. The story of Ruth is about a young girl who had known tragedy, extreme poverty, and hard, menial work. Yet she maintained a thankful and submissive attitude. Read the book of Ruth and see a beautiful example of bold femininity that caused Boaz to love and admire her. Take note of her humility and the deference Note her willing take note of her humility and the deference she paid to all in authority. Note her willingness to work and her willing obedience to the scriptural teaching of her aged mother-in-law Naomi. And lastly, see the wonderful blessing God showered on her in placing her into the lineage of his only begotten son. Esther. Esther is the story of a Jewish girl who lost her family and was taken by force to become the wife of an older, divorced, heathen man. She could have asked herself the silly question, why did I marry the right man? Or even a sillier question, since he is divorced, is he really my husband? If she had never, if she had, there never would have been a book in the Bible describing her courage, honor, and fortitude. She was put by her husband's decree in danger of losing her own life and the lives of her people, the Jews. Yet she rose above her circumstances and her natural fear to honor her husband, even as she made an appeal to save her own life along with the lives of her people. God has laid down only a few simple rules for women to follow because they are consistent with our feminine nature and the nature of men. It was Esther's submission to these principles that won the king's love and his appreciation for her as his queen. These two women, Ruth and Esther, showed themselves womanly and lovable in the midst of extreme circumstances. God honored them with his favor and favor from the men in their lives. The virtuous woman. Proverbs 31 defines the virtuous woman. She is not a mousy, voiceless prude. She is confident, hardworking, creative, and resourceful. Her first virtue is that the heart of her husband is safe with her. That is, he can trust her with his thoughts and feelings, never fearing that she might use the private knowledge that she has of him to hurt him in any way. A man will maintain a distance from his wife, never really opening up to her if he senses she might give this knowledge out inadvertently or use it against him when they are out of sorts. A man whose heart is not safe with his wife will never tell her what he intends to do or how he feels, because on previous occasions she has assumed the role of overseer by taking it upon herself to be his conscience and the manager of his time. She reminds him of what he said he was going to do in a manner that says, I am holding you to it. What is wrong with you? Are you a sloth or something? He finds it more peaceful to keep his own counsel. Wives, never use your special knowledge of your husband as leverage to get your way. If this passage in Proverbs had been written from our modern perspective, it would have extolled her for having a quiet time and being a prayer warrior, teacher, or counselor. In all the scriptural profiles of righteous women, including Proverbs 31, no such concepts are ever mentioned. In our culture, we have lost a clear understanding of what constitutes a virtuous woman. We have accepted the modern idea of the spiritual woman circulating in the realm of religious power and have forgotten that God does not see them in the same glorious light. What we think is spiritual, God labels Jezebel. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord. Isaiah 55:8. A woman working beside her man is a spiritual force for them both. A woman providing good sex and fun company is offering her husband a spiritual benefit. A woman preparing healthy meals and cutting the grass so he can go fishing on Saturday is a spiritual woman because she is placing him above herself. There is no greater love than to put another first. Dominance and control are always masculine characteristics. It is important for a woman to understand that she must be feminine, devoid of dominance and control. in order for her man to view her as his exact counterpart, and thus willingly respond to her protectively with love and gentleness. A woman who criticizes her husband for watching too much TV, playing too much golf, or indulging in any frivolous activity is expressing dishonor. When the relationship is properly balanced, a wife can make an appeal at the right time in the right manner, and it need not be a challenge to his authority. We will speak of how to make an appeal in due course, but know of a certainty that when a woman continually tries to assert her own will against her husband's, throwing it up to him that he is wrong, she is usurping authority over him, lording over him, and dishonoring him. A woman who continues in this behavior blasphemes the word of God and can expect God's sure reward. I say again, when a woman steps outside her nature and assumes the dominant role, she will soon become emotionally and physically exhausted. A man cannot cherish a strong woman who expresses her displeasure of him. You say that he should model Christ's love regardless of how she acts. Is that what you want? Is it what Christ wants? Do you want your husband to be forced to seek supernatural power just to find a way to love you? Do you want to be another of his trials, his greatest example of overcoming adversity? The home front should not be a spiritual battlefield. It should be the place where a man relaxes and can be vulnerable with the woman he cherishes. Men will always want to reclaim those times when love was fun and free, with no demands, like the times when she would smile at him with that sweet girlish, "I think you are wonderful" expression. She was so feminine then, so much the woman. He wanted to hold her just because she was a bundle of delightful joy. He would do anything for her. And now we come to the end. Time to consider. God placed man in the position of head of the family, not because he is wiser or more capable, but because it is part of God's eternal design. When people think of your family, do they see your husband as the principal player, or do they think of you as the main character? Would they refer to your family as Kathy's family or as John's family? Have you usurped the position of headship? The very first command God ever gave to a woman was, "Thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee." Genesis 3:16. Is your desire toward your husband? Do you live to please him? Or do you expect him to live up to your convictions and whims? Do you spend your days in anger, frustration over his unwillingness to change to your specifications? If so, you have become a Jezebel. Biblical profile contrast. Jezebel, prophetess, teacher, one who pities, religious controller. Virtuous woman profile, helpmeet, silent, encourager, prudent worker, submissive. I'll take a screenshot of this and post it tomorrow. But as you can see, this whole chapter was exactly what I've been talking about the whole time. If you guys remember, we're trying to change our mindset, right? And part of our mind, we've been talking about changing our own mindset so that it is more inclined to God's ways and what God expects of us women, instead of, having this feminist outlook and thinking on things like that heretic, we're rescuers in the strength. No, we are helpmeets. We are helpers, nurturers, supporters. We're supposed to have a quiet, reserved spirit, not a loud, out there kind of thing like she was doing. And if you notice, if you go to her page, she says a lot of things like what we just read about that Jezebel did. Oh, the Lord spoke to me and said this. Or she'll say things like, I heard this from the Lord today, speaking to me in prayer. She speaks like this Jezebel teacher that Jesus was warning about, right? She speaks just like that. And I was really like, when I read this chapter, I was like, wow, I was right the whole time that she was a Jezebel. That must have been Holy Spirit. Because she got real triggered when I called her a Jezebel. I'm just saying, she got real upset. But, she says, I'm in a self-proclaimed oppression. Or self-made oppression or something like that. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm not oppressed. I'm happy. I was so confused. I'm so tired now. I gotta go to bed. We'll talk more about this tomorrow. Don't worry. I will highlight the good parts that I really want to get on. And like I said, they mentioned both the scriptures I said we're going to go over this week, which is weird that it was in the chapter that we're going to start, right? 1 Timothy 2 and 1 Corinthians 11. And both of those were in here several times, as you saw. So, like, I'm telling you, it's like, all I can say is Jesus. That was Jesus. Okay? Okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll read over those scriptures and the best parts of this chapter. Okay? Then I'll read the Excellent Woman, chapter 3, and see if there's anything in there that we can add to this that, intertwines. Yeah? Yeah. I like this. This is fun. Okay. So good night. Anyway, this is good night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 4:45 in the morning. I'm making breakfast sandwiches, so it's going to be a crazy morning for me. Yeah. Okay, see y'all tomorrow morning. Good night. Later for now. God bless.